Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emily, a virtual assistant agency owner who left Amazon in 2019 to build my dream.
And I'm Whitney, a freelance writer and communications consultant who never felt at home in a cube farm.
We didn't see many people paving their own ways like we decided to, so we created this podcast to talk to others who were brave enough to pick a different path. Creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing their careers and their lives their way.
Join us as we learn from them, get inspired, and show you beautiful paths less traveled.
Not every road leads to the coast, but the ones that do come with a great view. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Coast Podcast. My name's Emily Given, and I am a virtual assistant agency owner living in Linwood, Washington.
And my name's Whitney Popa. I own a communications consultancy, which is kind of like selling seashells by the seashore, the way I just said it, in Edmonds, Washington. And we do have a lot of seashells here, so it makes sense. And today we're talking to Kaela Servais, who owns Carefully Curated Gifts. That's another selling seashells thing out of my mouth right now. And I became obsessed with Kaela at a vendor event a few months ago where I just walked in. There were a ton of different female entrepreneur vendors, and I think I'd known you before, but because you're always at the Edmonds markets, but I saw your booth and I was like, I'm going to get 6 or 7 client gifts from you for the holidays right here, right now. And that was a thrill. And the way that you curate your boxes and the experience you give people is so amazing. So we are so excited to talk to you today, Kaela. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, that was such a fun experience. You were definitely the first person who was like, I want 7 gifts right now. And I'm like, oh, I'm a real business. I actually have to have my ish together to give someone that. So that was amazing. And I'm so happy to be here. I listen to you guys' podcast every week.
Oh my gosh, you do?
Oh, thank you. We don't ever That's
amazing.
That's so cute because we don't get a ton of feedback.
Oh, well, I'll give you feedback. It's awesome. And I actually, your Human Aligned episode, because I loved that so much, I actually referred her to another friend of mine who has a podcast, and she's going to be on that too. And she listened to your podcast to get a better understanding. So it's just a ripple effect you guys are having.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, Sam is like blowing up right now. I love that for her. And she and I actually, because, if you listened, we had that like crazy meeting, kind of meet cute, I guess, over time. And now we scheduled weekly walks together. So she comes down to Edmonds and we walk around town for like 2 hours every Tuesday. And it really helps me get out of my own way because I need to have my head down and doing work or creating work if I don't have work. So it really is it's not rest, but it's like productive brain and body movement, I guess. So it's been really awesome to build a relationship with her. And I'm so glad that she's continuing to get more famous.
Exactly. It's so nice to bring the human element back into like business partners in a sense. Like we get so wrapped up in what we can bring to the table as far as collaboration. And then when you actually really like the person, it's like, oh, we can just be together and not have expectations. And the magic that comes from that is been so beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. So Kaela, I know very like high level that in your business you used to be in real estate and you were giving people gifts when they were buying their houses, I'm assuming, or even selling. I don't know, you'll tell us. And then you were like, I'm kind of over this and want to focus on just like the gift giving experience. So can you give our audience kind of an overview of your company and how it got started and kind of the little steps that all added up along the way?
Yeah, totally. there was a big crash and burn experience that kind of led to this Phoenix business rising. But yes, so pre-pandemic, I was had a career in real estate. I was more on like the director of operations side of things. So I ran a couple different mega teams. I did transaction management. I did a lot of like accounting admin stuff that is not my strong suit, but I pushed through because I love curating the client experience. Like I just love seeing people's faces when they get homes, and the agent is putting in so much work, but it was cool because I was the one behind the scenes keeping the pieces together, checking in, and then curating these great gifts. And I tried to do local as much as possible. I would make these little note cards. Like it wasn't in my job description, but it was something, because gift giving is my love language, I learned more and more. It totally sealed the deal and made the agents look great. So I loved making them look better, making me feel like I'm doing something in my job that is actually really fulfilling and connects to my heart. And so that was super fun. And then I had my daughter March 12th, 2020, which was the same week that the lockdown happened. So I was only planning on being gone for 8 weeks and then going back into work. I was actually thinking of I'll just bring like a rocker to my office and it'll be fine. Like not understanding what it takes to have a child. And so then in the pandemic, it was like, oh no, I can't go back. So trying to figure out what that would mean from working at home with her. And then I just got hit in the face with postpartum depression. It was overwhelming. And I do think that COVID had a lot to do with it, not having a ton of support. Luckily, my parents live right down the street, so we actually stayed with them for a few months. And my husband was in real estate too, so he was working literally 24/7, 7 days a week. Barely saw my daughter the first year of her life. So I was like underground and feeling so overwhelmed and knowing like I don't even know how to get back to work. Like I am such a productive, driven person, but I had like no drive whatsoever, and it was awful. So thankfully, in the same season, I got a therapist. I got on medication. I started deep diving back into self-discovery, self-help again, which is a huge passion of mine. In my prior life as a teen, I worked with Tony Robbins. So I've always known like high level, that's what I want to do, is help people in some capacity and not have a boss necessarily. And
Wait, sorry to interrupt. You
yes.
mean like worked with him, like met him?
Okay, well, no, I have not met him. I worked with I wish. Like I was
He's
like,
amazing.
he's absolutely incredible. I could spend this whole podcast talking about how his influence has literally changed my family's dynamic. But I would go around the country, work at UPWs. I was like the leadership ambassador, got scholarships to go to these things, yada, yada, yada. But that's my passion, is personal development. And so I would implement that in real estate, in like the client experience and leading my team. And then right when I had my daughter, who was like the biggest blessing of my life, but I'm feeling in this like pit of despair that I like do not know how to get out of, because the world's on fire at the same time. Like I'm not the only one with a problem, which then makes me feel even more guilty for feeling like I need so much help when I know people can't give me what I need. And also I'm so bad at asking for help. It's something I've been working on the past 2 years. But yeah, I finally hit the point where it was like, okay, I'm not going to go back to work because I don't know what I can give to another person expectation wise. Like that's a lot of pressure right now, and I'm not sleeping. My daughter has never slept through the night, still doesn't. And she's going to be 2 next month. So I'm a little tired, but yeah. So then I had this point after I did UPW, which is a Tony Robbins seminar in March. My mom and I did it virtually. And I was trying to think of like, I need to start a business. I just need something for myself, something where I'm the only one putting pressure on myself, something that inspires me, something that gives me a creative outlet. So it didn't come to me naturally that it would be gift giving. But I was like, okay, maybe I could do like a round table talk with people, host dinners, and give gifts there. And then all of a sudden it just like hit me, and it was like closing gifts for clients. That was the one thing that I loved to do. And why don't I just do that as a business? I already have a huge network of realtors. Um, there are so many small businesses. This was right early 2021 that are closing down because of the pandemic. So there is a need for people to know more small businesses. People want to give gifts. A lot of people don't know how to give gifts. So they give very generic, expensive for no reason. Amazon, nothing wrong with Amazon, but like with no heart behind it as much. And I was like, there is a need for that. So I just jumped in, got a business license, had no help. So figuring this all out has been such a process, and like tripping and falling and getting back up. But thankfully had a lot of realtors from the start who wanted baskets. And so I got a lot of work from that. And then as the holiday season started coming up, I was like, okay, realtors are great, but there are so many people who need this as well, who don't even realize that there is a possibility to put your heart and soul into a gift and have that reflect to the person they're giving it to. Intentionality, purpose, supporting local, and really shining a light on our community, which is so helpful. So in a nutshell, that's how it got started. It's just been a ripple effect, and I am just one day after the other putting my foot in front of myself and figuring it out along the way, and it's been absolutely incredible.
I love that whole story.
I love you. Like, you're just so cool.
Thank you.
It's like you're
I
very
received that.
inspiring. I can totally see you being an inspirational speaker. Absolutely. I'm excited, like, to get to know you. This is really great. Thank you for being here today. This is, I don't know what I expected, but I really like you and your energy.
Thank you so much.
Really good.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because the business, like I could feel like I could be doing anything right now. Like I'd love to give gifts. So the fact that this has all fallen into my lap and has been so natural has been great. But ultimately my mission behind my business is to like leave people better than when they came to me. So whether that's like coming to my market and talking to them, like there's a reason I'm at every single market. I don't have to be. I could have someone else come do it because trust me, like I would love a few hours not working or parenting or, the list goes on. But there's something about connecting with people and bringing smiles to people's face and making them feel seen that is absolutely my purpose. And so right now it's gift giving, and I love it. I don't see myself stopping, but ultimately I know that whatever happens, like I have a purpose way beyond that, which is really helpful on the really dark days.
Yeah. I hear that too because
I was just going to say, is gift giving one of your love languages?
Absolutely. I didn't realize it at first when I was younger because I would get that like on all the tests and I'd be like, oh God, that's so like materialistic, and that's not me. I don't really care about the fancy things but as I've learned more and more about what that means and the heart behind it, it is absolutely how I receive it is a little different because I know how much heart I put into a gift. So sometimes it's hard for me to receive that when it's like, I don't want to get into that, but I more appreciate like words of affirmation and quality time. But sometimes I show that through gift giving because I don't have a lot of quality time to give to the people that I wish I could. So that's kind of how I've engineered that.
Yeah, I hear that. And what I wanted to say too is that I just thank you for telling your whole story because I think it's so powerful for people to hear everything that led up to, like, they see you at a market, but they don't know everything that went into you getting there and being there that day. And I'm like feeling kind of emotional about it because it's just like, especially like as a mom and how we're building our businesses from the ground up and hearing like I believe the same thing. I've been really thinking about it a lot lately. Like I have a calling, I'm on a mission. It's not just like I write words for people. It's so much more than that and so community driven as well that what you're doing, I just knew that you would have a powerful story to tell. So thank you for that, Kaela. And I want to hear more about like how you even, so you said you have relationships with people in these small businesses. Like, do you just reach out? Like, how do you get them to be in your boxes?
I mean, there's a couple different ways. I had no idea at first. I would just, go to local small businesses and make partnerships and tell them like, I have this business and I'm getting my license. Like, I would love to partner and sell your stuff in my boxes. And that worked for a little bit. But, like I said, I have a daughter. I don't have enough time to go where I want to go and be where I want to be and do meetings. So a lot of it was through social media. A lot of it has been so much research behind different companies in the area, working with different like wholesalers, reaching out to them. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. That's probably what takes up the most of my time, is just the research, honestly, because I don't just want to slap slap a label that says made in Washington and then carry it. I want to be able to tell the full story of, when you buy this is from this brand. Like, one of my biggest partnerships the last year was with this company called Balmopolis. And they do like the bath shots, the bath bombs. And she was amazing. And we met through social media. She actually reached out to me. It's so funny when people know me before I know them. Like, I've had that happen a lot. And I'm like, how do you know me? I'm just this little person. So it's a very humbling experience. But she's actually a military spouse who moved here. She just had her second kid, and this is like a passion project of hers. So like, I love when people hold up a bath shot and they're like, what is this? How much is this? Like, I can tell them, but I also say, and you're supporting this great mom. She is doing this like out of just the joy of her heart. She has these two moms. Her husband's in the military. They just moved here. And like, that mind body connection to, yes, it's a product that you're going to use, you're going to gift, but the heart behind that, and then the heart behind me making it into a gift as well, is so full circle. That's what I think the most important part. Oh, as I drop my recorder, that's the most important part to me in finding out who I'm going to sell, curate boxes with, is who are they? What do they stand for? What do they make? How sustainable, organic is it? Can I get behind their story and the person behind the story? And so far it's been wonderful, and it's almost overwhelming how many people in our area have a story to tell and products to get out to people that you wouldn't normally find day to day. So almost like shrinking it down to like a price point I could pay for inventory. Because if it was up to me, I would have like truckloads and truckloads of things to give to people, just because I get connected to the why behind people's mission as much as I'm connected to the why behind mine.
Right. And I'm also thinking, as you're talking too, I'm like, you would be a great fit for one of Emily's VAs, because they can do all that research for you, and then you'll have to just like sift through and decide, oh, yes, no, yes, no. You give them all the criteria. That's one of the things that my virtual assistant does a lot of, is I have her research a ton of things for me and make really beautiful Excel documents that when I send them over to clients, they're like, wow, they're in my colors and have my logo. And I would never, that would take me hours. And she's just like so quick and easy that, like, I think you have a lot of things. Not that this is a place where I just sell Emily's services, but it has changed my life. And it's not like gonna break the bank by any means.
That's genius. We definitely need to talk, Emily, because
Okay.
it's so hard for me to leverage myself out. But hearing that is like, that's absolutely what I need, because, I am a full-time mom, and from 4:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm on. And also my daughter is not taking naps anymore. So I only have,
With you.
4 hours in the day to get it all together. And hearing that somebody that's their expertise would save me so much time. So yeah, shout out to you, and we'll definitely talk, because that sounds great.
Thanks. Um, I just have to say, I feel you on the not sleeping through the night and not napping thing. My child is 5.5, and he has never slept through the night. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm just saying that in solidarity. Like, it's rough. So I get
No,
you.
that's
Like,
it's so helpful to hear those stories. Like it's not scary. It's almost comforting because nobody shares that. And so you're just kind of swimming alone. You're like, is anybody else going through this? Anybody, flag up in the air. And I have not found anyone yet. So
2 to 3 times a night, and he wants milk. I'm like, are you a newborn right now? You are acting like a newborn.
Milk.
It's a lot.
Kids are so freaking weird.
Yeah, they're amazing. And
Facts.
also, so, what is the word I'm looking for?
Demons.
So...
My children are beautiful little
Correct.
demons.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love them.
They're so sweet, though. We were snuggling this morning, and he goes, Mom, I love you so much, I might cry.
Oh,
God.
Like, oh, you're like, worth it. Everything's worth it.
It's so worth it. They're so cute. But I just wanted to say also, I'm really glad you brought up the postpartum depression thing, too. Thank you for being brave enough to acknowledge that on this platform. I think it's super important that women talk about that because, you know, when you're pregnant, before you have kids, it's like a very little blip in the radar, like, this may happen to you, and then you move on to the other things, you know. But people don't really talk about it, and people are talking about it more, and it's really important, but thank you for bringing light onto that. And also, I mean, postpartum in general is why all three of us kind of pivoted toward business ownership and entrepreneurship. Not depression per se, but being postpartum and realizing that we have to live in this world where moms, we have to work or not work, but we have, you know, we are responsible for these tiny little people, but we still want to be our own person, and creating something that works for all of us is what we have done. And that is kind of one of the biggest ripples that Whitney and I hope to make, is that we empower other moms to realize you can take control of the situation. You can create something that works for you. You can be a great mom and a great wife and a great friend and a great business owner, and make yourself happy. So thank you for sharing that story. I'm really glad that you're here and talking about it and helping us create this ripple. So
thank you for saying that. And I love that is kind of the takeaway from your podcast as well, and your businesses, is you can be your own person and still be a wonderful mom, parent, support system. And, you know, if corporate's not working for you, if your job like isn't fulfilling you and you're already feeling so sad, like leaving your children, and you're not happy in your job, like what's the point? Like, we're all in survival mode. There is, you know, we're very blessed to have found a niche, right, where we can thrive in. And that's not often the case, but just giving people hope, right? They can keep listening week after week and hearing people's stories about how they got to where they are and the struggles and the blessings that come through it. So it's just, right, adding that confidence in people little by little, which is incredible. And also for, like, you know, postpartum, I realized very quickly, because, you know, we were isolated and I was miserable. I was like, I'm just going to talk about it. Like, I do not, well, now I do. Let me back up. Pre-mom, I was not vulnerable at all. I was like the person that would like be there for everyone, but if someone asked me like, how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm good. Let's talk about you. Like, there is this wall. Like, I don't know if you guys know Enneagram. I'm an Enneagram 8. 8 wing 7. So there is the joyful side, but it's very much like I will be the person, the go-to person, and that is what you can expect from me, but don't expect like the walls to come down unless like I'm in emergency mode, and then it's like word vomit everything. And yeah, I realize I can't do that. I need people. I need to talk. I need to let people know that they're not alone, which I guess goes into me having to be the person in my head, right, that brings light to it. And it very quickly realized that there are so many of us going through that don't have an outlet, don't feel like they can talk about it because they don't want to be a burden to people. They don't know how to put words to what they're feeling. And just the intrusive thoughts that comes with postpartum depression, like I can't say things out loud that have gone through my head because it makes me like physically sick. just like the worry that has been put on me, and you know, the things that I endured the last 2 years, I wish upon no one. Just like your brain just gets so weird. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, I would do these RTML things, which was real talk mom life. And I would just like put it out there, like RTML, like got thrown up on, but she's sleeping on, like can't do anything, like haven't eaten in 4 days, like, but you know, then I would bring like a positive spin to it. And that was like a really good practice for me to just start sharing and talking and not thinking about what the response is going to be or what people are going to think of me, because I don't really care anymore, because I have nothing left to lose, because I was in such a bad state. Like it couldn't get worse. So I had to make myself feel a little bit better, feel a little bit lighter. And it feels really great to be coming kind of around on the other side of that and using my business as a tool to share, because any chance I can, I like to talk about why and how I got here. And how, right, like I said, it's kind of like a phoenix. And now I can be happy and talk about these things and not be living in it, which I didn't think that I would ever get out of. So any chance I can remind and tell people that if they're experiencing anything like that, that like they aren't alone, and that it is scary, and that their feelings are valid, but there is hope on the other side. I'll do that whenever I can. It doesn't always start great. It doesn't always start bad, but then you know, you can have dips, and that's life, and that it is hard, really hard, and everyone's feelings are incredibly valid no matter what their brain tells them, because it's their own experience. Just because someone else hasn't experienced it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. So yeah, I try and use my business, my social media anytime I can to just now be like, here I am, this is my life, and hope you enjoy it. You don't have to understand, but it's how I got here. So it's really important.
I think it's so important. And it's something I talk about a lot too. I don't think I had like postpartum depression, but I definitely had some anxieties and baby blues. And there's a couple things I want to say to you about that. If you haven't read the book Ordinary Insanity, I really recommend it. It's all about postpartum anxiety and depression, and it really like sheds a light on our overall maternal care, especially for Black women as well in the world, and how we treat mental health with women. Of course, it's not surprising that there's more research on postpartum in men than there is on women, because most researchers are men. So take that. It was a book that, even though I didn't have like deep postpartum depression, I did find myself like feeling triggered by a lot. So I had to take it in little spurts to feel like really marinate on each thing. But it's so well done. It was actually recommended by Laura Sullivan, a person who was on, she's a photographer and amazing copywriter, branding expert, and they just moved to Chicago. She's pregnant with her second little girl, and her daughter is 1 day younger than our daughter. And she had a really, really traumatic birth situation, and she's a huge reader. So definitely check out that book if you're a book reader. It might be on Audible too. And then something that popped into my head as you were speaking with regard to your business and boxes is, I know there are some people out there now who are doing postpartum kits, which are great. I love that they're doing that, like the You're in Good Company girls, who we'd love to interview too. And I know you have a couple like mommy centric boxes, but I think it would be cool to have like a kind of a postpartum one that isn't like, hey, you're depressed, here's your box, but like more of like a happy mommy box. There's a woman who had a Kickstarter a few years ago, and I bought into it for a book that she created with a really talented illustrator called I Love My Happy Mama. And it's technically a board book like to read with your kids, and it's all about like the little girl seeing her mom through her life of like, I love my happy mama. I love when we play together. And then it shows the mom like on the floor but crying, and it's all about how the little girl just loves being with her mom no matter what. And as moms, we beat ourselves up about like, am I enough for them? How do I like, why am I not happy? And It's such a cute book, and they have a website dedicated to the book too. I think it's ilovemyhappymama.com, but I'll include it in the show notes and shoot it over to you too, just for consideration. I don't know if she even has enough books, but they also have coloring pages, and it's just so cute and makes you feel so good. And I know as moms, like, even getting ahead of it, like, I'm not going to assume how you're going to feel after having a baby. I felt completely isolated after having my first child, and actually kind of upset with my friends and my network for being like, because I was one of the last, since I went to school in Idaho and everybody gets married super young. I was like, why didn't you bitches tell me that this shit was going to be as hard as it is? Like, it was so hard. It completely changed my body. It completely changed my life, and in a lot of positive ways. But nobody was talking about it. And I was like, I felt like if I didn't fall in love with this baby as soon as he came out of my body, then something was wrong with me. And I definitely had to, like, take my time to get to know this little alien and fall in love with him. It wasn't like, oh, you put him on my chest and now I'm in love. For me, everybody has their own experience. But I also felt like, why isn't anybody talking about, like, some of these little things along the way? Or that, like, I didn't want to breastfeed because I thought it was super freaky. I didn't want anybody on my boob. But then my husband read a book and was like, you give them your immune system. And I was like, okay, I might as well try. But, like, all these things that, you know, are so normal, and this is what you do, don't question it. I had a really hard time with that. So it's really cool, like Emily said, to have all of these things, like, build into the story of our businesses. Like, I always say my son, like, kind of kicked me in the uterus, and it wasn't for him. It was for me to be who I wanted to be with them. But it's kind of like the silver lining of, like, wow, this shit was so hard, and there's no way I could have been commuting an hour each way and paying half my salary to the daycare. Because I would have been completely miserable. And I just love that other women can hear, like, you have options. It's not just sit and hate your life.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing to hear? Like, it seems so common sense, but, like, when you're living it's just like your world is kind of unraveling when you're a parent. Like, even if you're thriving, like, it's chaotic. So to think in the moment, like, oh yeah, like, I can do these things, is really hard. So to hear someone tell you, like, this is my experience and I'm getting through it, and it's still hard, but I'm doing it, is really impactful. And thank you for those book recommendations. I wanted to start bawling when you told me about that board book, because it's so true. Like, there's so much guilt attached at the end of the day of, like, I gave my everything and it still feels like I could have been better for them. And, like, that's a why is that how we feel? But to hear, like, you know, that your kids aren't going to remember, like, those things. They're going to remember, like, the time you spent with them just as you were, just loving them, and, like, that's what's going to transcend. And then regarding what you're saying about, like, you were the last, like, I was one of the first. My best friend had a son 5 months before me, but besides that, like, nobody in our friend group yet has had kids. And I quickly realized, like, people were doing their best, but we asked moms the wrong questions. It's not like, how are you? Like, let me know if you need anything. Like, of course I need something, but, like, in the moment, you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, can you do this for me? Can you do, like, we don't want to bombard anybody because we're already feeling so, like, don't want to put that on anybody else. So now that, you know, more and more people I know have been having kids, I just changed the question, because I understand, you know, while they may not have gone through and are not going through things maybe as hard as I experienced, there is still a lot of first-time parent confusion, or having another child and trying to learn balance. So I just learned, like, hey, are you free this day? I'm going to come over. Let me know what you want to eat, and I'm going to be doing this. Or, like, I'll give them, like, 3 options of, like, hey, this week I have this day, this day, this day. Do you want to do this? Can I come over for a shower? Like, and so that way they don't feel like they are, like I said, being a burden or asking for too much. It's like, you just go in and say, like, I'm here, I see you, and I'm going to help you whether you want it or not. because I'm the person that would be like, no, I don't need anything, even though I'm drowning. And so just reversing that has been really eye-opening.
I like how you said that moms are asked the wrong questions or don't feel like comfortable asking, because one of my good friends just had a baby, first time mom, and I was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Because she lives in Spokane. No, she lives in Chelan, so kind of far away. And she's like, "I'm good. Baby's good. Everything's good here." And I said, "Sam, no. How are you really doing?" And she's like, wrote out this huge long paragraph like, "I'm leaking out of everywhere and everything hurts so bad and I can't, like, latching hurts and all this stuff." And so, like, I just sent her an Amazon package of, like, all this, like, stuff that you don't know you need before you have a kid, like the soothies for your nipples, or, like, like the pads that you freeze and put in your underwear, like really unglamorous things that are totally necessary. But I think it's really important for us as veteran mommies, I guess, to really ask those questions of our friends who have babies too. Like, no, how are you really doing? What? Like, how are you doing in this specific hard thing, and this specific hard thing, and this specific hard thing? Because they don't know to ask. And they, like, I didn't know it was normal to sweat out my body weight and hormones after I had a baby. like, I think I'm dying. Like, what is happening to me? And people don't talk about that. People need to talk about it. So
Yeah.
thank you for addressing that.
Absolutely. And just, one more thing on that is I think that it's incredible as maybe a mom, a dad, just as a person in general, for people like to see you. So when you stop and you're like, how are you really? And it's like, oh, they actually are taking the time and want to know. That is like the most powerful gift you can give to someone, is like your time and your intentionality. And it's amazing. And another thing is like, it's so, you never want to seem ungrateful. That has been a hard path for me to follow. I have a lot of very close friends who struggle with fertility, and it's something that they've been walking in for so long, and I've been walking with them in that journey, and I know the heartache that comes with that. And so never, like, as I'm experiencing these terrible things, the last thing I want to do is seem like I'm not grateful for this life, or for my child, or that I was able to conceive, like, and that she's healthy. Like, there are so many things that are wonderful, and realizing that it doesn't have to be one or the other. They can coexist, and you can be so grateful and also validate and be honest about your experience in the moment, because it's not your forever.
For sure. Yeah. And I try to hold multiple ideas in my brain at the same time and communicate through that. Like, I think my mission and journey in this lifetime, which I see on all the tests, on all my charts everywhere, is about communication. So being able to kind of explain that for me and speak to my experience has been really powerful and helpful for me, especially within motherhood. Like, even just saying, I love them so much I could, like, explode, but also they can be demons. Let's be honest about our experience, whatever that looks like. And I love what you said too about the just the option of, like, I'm going to do something, so pick this or that. And I have talked about this with regard to grief too, and I do think that becoming a parent is a grieving process as well, because you're grieving the life that you used to have, and it's a whole new chapter. So it's definitely like a pro and con situation. And I had some friends do some really amazing things, like just send the money to send the takeout, send the gift card for food. The food part was huge for me, and just show up and sit and do whatever, come and distract us, whatever. It was just so nice when people either just did it or gave, here are your two options of what I'm going to do for you right now, because it doesn't put the pressure on you to use your brain that's not even working to make decisions for them. It's actually like much more helpful and selfless as far as, and it is a gift.
That's so wonderful that you had that experience. Like, it is a gift. And to hear that you had that in little things like food or just distractions, they go such a long way.
And they need to last longer. Everybody shows up in the first 2 weeks. And then, by the time you're really feeling it, by 6 months to a year, people are off in their own lives again. So I try to be the friend that puts together a beautiful, shower basket and then is still there, a year later. What
I
about.
imagine it was. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I imagine it was a little different for you.
Yeah.
You didn't have a lot of Pop 5 visitors in March 2020, did you?
Yeah, my best friend's grandparents didn't meet her till she was like 3.5 months old, and they lived down the street.
That's a whole other layer I wasn't even thinking about.
I'm sorry that you went through. I'm sure it was like, you feel isolated as a new mom, but that's like exceptionally isolating. I'm glad you had a little bit of support, but I can't imagine how hard that was for you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Luckily, I didn't know any different. It was my first experiences as a mom, so I had nothing to compare it to. We got a lot of time together, but yeah, the pandemic definitely in those first few months wreaked a havoc on my mental state, me feeling like I had no friends because I couldn't risk, being out, my marriage, only having one income that was 100% commission when my husband was a real estate agent. Like, there were just so many layers to it. And I just have to continually remind myself to have grace with myself, that we are only doing the best with what we have in those moments. And I think that lets me have a lot of grace with more people now than I would have beforehand.
For sure. Everybody has their own process and way of going through it. I do want to talk a little bit so people can understand your boxes better about how you come up with different themes, how you curate for people. You do them like you can work with people one-on-one to come up with whatever they want in their box, or you have pre-made ones for people with different themes, including, I think, expecting moms, right?
Yeah, I try and have them for all occasions. I usually have about like 12 boxes at any given moment that like are already put together on the website or at the markets that you can buy. And I am such a stickler for like boxes matching, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not just going to throw a bunch of random stuff in a box and say like, oh, this looks good. Like, it has to be the whole experience. It has to be like all the same scent, or all like you're going to be having a date night and every single thing here you can use in the same date night. Or like in this spa gift, like it has to not only look good, but be purposeful, not have junk, because people are at home more than ever. And I always say this, it's like nobody has room or time to like figure out how to use something that they're not going to use after all. And so as I'm researching every product I see, I'm like, okay, what does this tie in with? Like, what experience? Like, let's take, for example, like the CBD gummies, Busy, right? Love them. Met them at the Vendorland fair. And yeah, I do have the option to buy them individually, but I was like, what gift can this go with? So like, I have the first things first, I'm the chillest, right? So it's like a wake and bake bath soak, right? It's funny, there's no THC in it, but it goes with the CBD gummy. So it's like a relaxing experience. Or I have a new like ultimate indulgence like pink self-care box. So it's like you're gonna have this day set aside, take the gummy, then take the bath, get into the aloe vera pink socks so you feel really soft, use the lotion bar, use the lip balm, then you use this tea to go to sleep like afterwards. Like, I try and curate this whole experience because not everybody likes getting gifts or knows how to receive them, and they're more experienced people. So if we can use the idea of gift giving and give them an experience, you kind of hit all the marks. And so I'm constantly getting more products, and then I have to, I'm thinking, well, what does this go with? Like, we just did a bunch of Valentine's Day stuff, but I really don't want to make boxes that are just specific for a specific like holiday. Like, I'm not going to make just like a birthday box. Like, I have boxes for friends, guys, these experiences, and you can add birthday cake truffles or a birthday candle if you want. But I want people to pick gifts that actually relate to the person they're giving them to. And so whether it's like they love coffee, they want a brunch basket with their family, they want a family game night, like they love bath stuff and self-care. They love they're really like business people, go, 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 don't make time for themselves. So they're not going to sit and have a bath. Like they can utilize those things and then add the customized features that they want. So I have a ton of like basket options for realtors. We kind of customize as we go. I have like 4 little frameworks, and then I really want to know, like, who are you giving this to? Do they have kids? Where are they moving? I have a little couple questions that they ask, so I can really make sure that the person that's getting the basket or box, that if they're giving it to a client in specific, that it means something to them, that they feel seen, right? Like I want whoever's receiving a gift to not only feel seen like by the person who made the gift, but also that the products inside were chosen purposefully. So yeah, I have customized features on my website. My website has been a work in progress. I just switched to Shopify, which has been a complete game changer in a great way. And so really, I have people emailing me. People reach out on Instagram all the time being like, can you make a box for my friend who has COVID and just send it to them with like a budget of $50? Like something simple like that. And I'll then at night, like put a box together, what I think would look good. I send a picture to them. They can give me the thumbs up, thumbs down. And it's really easy. I want to give people who don't have the time to curate something or know what to get an experience to just press click or show up at the market, be like, that looks good, go. Or I have a build a box option at the market where I have like a whole table, and I'm going to bring like 3 tables to the Edmonds market next week.
Ooh, can't wait.
Individual items people can grab for themselves or grab for a person if they don't want to spend the money to make a box, or they can be like, can I build a box? And then they can pick what they like there and feel it, smell it, have the whole experience for themselves before they give it to someone else. So I try and make it as easy as possible, and I try to show as many things as possible so people can get ideas in their head for people that they want to gift and for what they want to gift.
I love what you said about the experience for people too, because we really emphasize that in our family of like, we want experiences. That's what's most memorable. So giving things that create an experience for people is so powerful. And again, I have to reiterate how impressed I am with how deeply you think about the whole thing. And when we're experiencing things as consumers, we just don't see all of that. And I love being able to give depth to the conversation and all of these cool companies. And you're doing such a cool service for them too by being able to give them a platform by being a part of your box. It's just this full circle experience, like you said, that I just love.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's the goal. And, it's not going to resonate with everyone, but for the people that it clicks with, it really clicks. And I've heard just time and time again, which is very reassuring to me, who, like I said, is just literally going blind, like, oh, this sounds good, let's just do it. I don't have analysis paralysis. I don't have that mind that looks 6 months, 1 year, 5 years into the future, except for like dreaming. But like the logistics aspect is not necessarily my strong suit, which is why it's great to leverage people out. So hearing like, this is exactly what I was looking for, or this is fantastic, this, I didn't even know that this was a thing. Like it just constantly is like, right, you're on the right path. This is a need. This is, even though gifts sometimes seem like a luxury, it's like I said, the purpose, the passion, and the love behind it, and the experience you're giving, that is the reason we do what we do.
How big is your team? Is it just you?
It's just me. My friend Emma, who I think you've met a couple times, comes to the markets with me. She's amazing. We met at like the little gym. She nannied for an adorable little girl that was friends with Charlotte, and so one time she like saw my Instagram and was like, "Hey, can I order a gift for my friends who just got engaged?" And I was like, "Sure." This was like before I had the whole layout website, And she was so impressed, like her whole family got involved and was like, this is the best thing ever. And she just graduated from college. So we're kind of using it as like an internship, giving her a little bit of stake in the company. And it's really awesome to have a friend there. But aside from that, like it's me. And I love that because it's my baby. Like, because I don't have as much logistics laid out, I don't want to like give away something like creative control. But yeah, it's been really awesome. As stressful as it can be doing it myself right now, it has taught me so much and has made me realize how productive and strategic I can be when push comes to shove.
I feel that. Yeah. I usually get 4 uninterrupted hours. And so on a day like today, this is one of my things that I'm doing in that time. We like to wrap up with some quick questions, and I think you're gonna like them. And they're not always quick. So we try to say that they're quick, but they're not.
Game on.
All right, let's do it. What are you proudest of in your business right now?
Oh, I am proud of how I show up. I think it would be really easy for me to just look at this as a business or like, just extra money or a creative outlet, but I really put my heart and soul into it, and I put me into it. And I'm really proud of that because I'm not getting bogged down by what I should be doing or, like I said, what people think. Like, that's why I love the markets so much. And I think that's probably what I'm most proud of it ties into is doing the markets, because I didn't think that my business had a place in a market. It's amazing how it all unfolded, but I've totally found my place there, being able to say hi to people, explain things, laugh, like be joyful. Sometimes it's hard to have those experiences throughout the day when you're just like go, go, go. And when I'm just by myself, building my boxes, researching, it can be a little tedious, but then I remember all that work is not for nothing when I'm there, and it makes me really proud of myself.
Yeah, I love that customer touch point thing because as entrepreneurs, we can get so siloed that I love being able to see your work out in the world or talk to people, connect to people. So that's really a cool, like tangible aspect of your business that not all of us get. I don't get that as often. That's why I try to like be out and around Edmonds and tell myself the night before I'm going to manifest seeing all my Edmonds friends today. And then I do.
You are the literal queen of Edmonds. So let me reiterate that for you. You are out in the world and we see you.
In your language, I received that. Thank you.
The queen and what does Richard call you? Empress?
The Empress.
The Empress and the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah, I'll take it all.
Tell us about a book you read or a podcast you listened to recently that changed the way you're thinking about your life or your business.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's hard for me to find time to read. I love books, but yeah, so I do a lot of Audible in the car as I'm driving around, and the Will Smith autobiography was incredible. I don't know because I'm a verbal processor, so I haven't taken the time to really think about how it's fully impacted me, but listening to him share his experience, it's incredible. I mean, I've already loved him. My family are big Will Smith, Hitch, his music, like it's just been ingrained in my life, but hearing him share about his experience and like how he talks, how he explains things, sharing his mistakes and sharing that he has shame and guilt attached to that, but how he's moved forward and learned from it is so eye-opening that there can be joy amidst pain. And I think that we see his life, right? If you don't really follow him, you're like, wow, he had this huge streak of success, like couldn't be stopped. But at the same time, like his family was miserable and crumbling. So it's like a reminder of no matter what you see businesses doing out there, no matter like how you feel like you're showing up, like don't put expectations like that's how you need to show up constantly. and just try to do the best that you can and remember your priorities at the end of the day. Because if my business skyrockets, but I don't spend time with my husband, my daughter feels not seen, and I'm not really getting quality time with her, and I'm not getting sleep or taking time for myself, then it's going to implode at some point. So that was really awesome.
I haven't started it yet, but I'm so excited. I bought it for my best friend for Christmas, and she's just like, you need to read this. So I want to be channeling my inner Whitney and reading lots of books every day.
I just requested it from the library.
I want to read every day like Whitney does. That is and I'm starting a really small goal because I have trouble with habits and like have trouble with accountability to myself. So my tiny little goal is to read a chapter a day. And if I can do that, maybe I'll bump it up to more.
That's great.
Whitney's my inspo for that.
And everybody has their own process. I just want to be clear that you don't have to do what I do. I read a lot because I write a lot and it helps me, and that's where I get in my flow state, is reading and turning off my brain and winding down. But I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, I have to read a lot of books. And Whitney reads a lot of books. I just have to have a tangible goal for myself so I don't just sit and watch Housewives all the time, just to be clear.
I really enjoy reading. I have some guilt attached to it though, because like you're sitting down in a quiet place doing something that only benefits you. And I have a lot of guilt, a mom guilt, especially around it.
I do not.
You could dive deep with that one.
Yeah, we could, but yeah, it's interesting. So yeah. Okay, this is my favorite question. Don't laugh. What would your last meal be?
Can I just tell you that I ask my husband this probably like quarterly. Like, if you had your last meal, like breakfast to dinner, where would you go, or what would it be? Like, he's like, why? What does this have to do with anything? I'm like, it's so important. And I think mine would change all the time, but I love brunch. Brunch is fantastic. I love to eat out. My family ate out a ton as a kid because my mom was a single mom and worked a ton. So like, my love language besides gifts is like food and eating out, the experience of it. So I would probably go to the Salish Lodge and have brunch there looking over the waterfall. I've only been a couple times and it was magical, the experience. So, maybe a hot chocolate with whipped cream and a mimosa, just, to balance it. And then French toast. A really, really good French toast is magical. And just like, yeah, the experience attached with the food is probably the most important thing to me if I would think about my last meal and like cherishing that. But absolutely breakfast items, but not at breakfast time. Maybe like 11 a.m.
I love how deeply you've thought of this. And I just like, I don't know, in my brain it was just automatically went to dinner, maybe because that's my favorite meal. I didn't even think about time of day or like type of meal. I just was like, oh, it's going to be a last dinner for me. So I love that. And actually, like Salish Lodge just came up with one of our very first guests, Marissa from Postcards to Seattle. I love to call people famous because it makes them so uncomfortable, but I believe that they are. And she's a very famous travel blogger, and she's based in Edmonds as well. And she just got reached out to by the PR team for Salish Lodge to do like a Mother's Day brunch there. And she had never been.
Did.
Yeah.
Get it? That's so good.
So I'll tell her.
Okay, I will be attending that. That's okay. I'm so excited. And also, I'm just putting it out, manifesting it right now, that the Salish Lodge will let me be a partner with them because I've been emailing them constantly. They're not allowing any more retailers at the moment, but that buttermilk pancake mix calls my name and I want it in my brunch basket. So guides, do with it what you will.
This episode
I need
officially sponsored by Salish Lodge.
Yeah, their PR.
Could we have it sponsored by the Post Hotel too?
Yes,
just putting that
absolutely.
out there as well.
Oh, that is on my wish list for sure.
The PR team, if you need a connection, the PR team that works with them, I'm pretty sure is the same one that works with my client. I found that out yesterday because they reached out to Marissa to come and eat brunch with them for Mother's Day, and they were going to have like a photographer on hand, so you could just like sneak in to the event and talk to them. on that day.
Okay, I hear you.
Okay. What is the best business purchase in the last 6 months that you've made under $100? I'm sure you've had a lot.
Like every business purchase has been in the last 6 months. Oh gosh, under $100. Maybe my business domain. This is actually going to take a second to think about. Probably market related stuff. My ring light, my replica surfaces for photos, like the backdrops, has been crucial because right now the budget doesn't allow for branding photography, but it helps me, just practical things like that. A really nice down jacket from Costco that was like $40 that has kept me really warm every market. And yeah, I think under $100, that's probably it. And tons of stuff for the market is directly where my brain goes. And the most beneficial thing for me has been my Nespresso machine. So I can just go, and it tastes just like going out without going out, even though I would still like to go out.
I've always been curious about Nespresso.
Absolute game changer. I was a barista for like 5 years before I went into real estate, and it's the closest thing I can find to the real thing.
Okay. And the last question. What is lighting you up lately?
So many things, actually. You know, this has been a really tough season outside of postpartum. I mean, we just bought a house, our first house in December. And it is just bringing me so much joy to see my family thriving. Like we had like a penthouse apartment in downtown Redmond, which was always the dream. And it was big, but not big enough when my husband's working full time. I'm building a business out of our laundry room. My daughter has the 1 bedroom and we're sleeping in the dining room. And so as much as you love each other, like when you're on top of each other 24/7, like that's going to cause unnecessary chaos. And so having space for everything here and like looking at my window and seeing 5 parks, like having a neighborhood where you talk to your neighbors, having a place for all of my things and seeing like my daughter just thrive and have new things to discover is the greatest joy ever. And it makes me so proud that we worked so hard to get to this point where we could not only afford but be available to have this experience.
That's amazing. Where are you? Are you in? I thought you were in Monroe.
Yeah, we're in Monroe. We're like our neighborhood is basically half Snohomish, half Monroe. So we're like, it's called like the foothills.
Beautiful.
And we're just this nice corner lot. You drive by, like the sellers, I hope they're not going to be listening to this, but are the greatest people ever and completely like renovated the whole inside. This was their dream home. And then a month after they finished the whole renovation, the whole house, they realized that his job was taking them to Arizona. So we have their dream home, which is bittersweet because they're wonderful, but like having everything done and just being able to breathe in a space that feels so intentional is like a reflection of how I feel I try to give to people. Like having that given to me is almost something that I didn't know was possible.
That's so cool. Like the universe gave that back to you. I love that. That's amazing. Finally, this isn't a rapid question, but where can people find you, Kaela? How do people get a hold of you? What's your website? What's your Instagram handle? Tell us all the things.
Yes, well, everything is carefullycuratedgifts.com, at Facebook. I'm mostly on Instagram is where you can find me the most. My website has a bunch of contact features, and most of the boxes, it does take me a little bit longer to get them up there just because of the logistics that go behind getting things on the website with so few hours in the day. But I've got my phone number and my email on there as well. Just reach out if you have questions, if you want to build something, if you want something delivered. If you're a real estate agent listening, I do sales meetings, I curate different baskets, I do the whole 9 yards. So that's where you can find me.
I'd like you to do a Tony Robbins theme box for me, just putting that out there.
I would love to. Just know that I don't think anything will be from Washington then.
Oh, true.
So
okay, we'll find a Washington Tony Robbins. Actually, we're going to talk to Richard next week, and he's kind of a Washington Tony Robbins.
Oh,
So,
totally.
and he
I met him,
self-publishes.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's the
And he has
best. I'm
lots
so
of
excited.
books. He has books too.
Yeah. I connected him to my friend who has a nonprofit called Keep Choosing Life that kind of relates to a lot of the things that he talks about. So I'm hoping to see him on bigger and bigger platforms too.
You're a connector. I love it.
Yes, you are.
I'm a projector.
Oh, okay. I was like, if she hasn't done her human design.
Oh, yeah. We can talk about
Isn't
that
projector
another
pretty,
day.
like, not very common?
Are they?
Projectors,
I feel like
right?
everyone in my life is a projector besides my mom.
I find them pretty common in my
That's
life.
so funny. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we'll
My
have to
husband
talk
is
about
one
that
too.
again. Really? Oh.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Kaela, thank you so much for being here today. We really loved talking to you, and I hope that I talk to you many, many, many times in the future.
Oh, please do. Are you in Edmonds also?
I'm in Linwood, so close by.
Okay, I do go to Linwood every other week for our crumble box, crumble cookies. So
yes.
I am around. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is so fun. You guys are great. It's so great to see you in your elements and, follow you guys and, get to know the people behind the social media, behind the businesses. What you guys are doing is amazing.
Oh, thank you. We love giving this platform to women too.
Absolutely.
Women are awesome.
And sometimes men.
Sometimes men.
There's some good ones.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of the Coast Podcast. We will see you next week.
This episode's music was provided by Sloan Best.
And editing provided by Kayla Shu.